Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer. You know, for decades, DuPont was using a chemical called C8 to produce their blockbuster product, Teflon. DuPont was well aware of the toxicity of C8 according to their own internal documents, but it wasn't until the company was facing thousands of lawsuits that they finally stopped dumping this toxic chemical into the Ohio River where it poisoned thousands of people. But the chemical that replaced C8, a chemical known as Gen X, is beginning to cause similar health problems, same things we saw with C8, and close to 300,000 people along Cape Fear River may have been exposed to DuPont's newest toxin. Tonight, we'll tell you the story of Gen X and how DuPont quietly swapped one poison for another, and later in the show. In 2009, DuPont officially stopped using a chemical known as C8 in the production of Teflon, mostly in response to massive lawsuits that the company was facing. The company's internal documents show that as early as 1988, they'd been aware of the dangers of C8, yet they hid these dangers from the public until the recent lawsuits exposed their cover-up for the world to see. But even before they stopped using C8, the company had been working with a new chemical that they said would replace their toxin. In 2006, they started using a new chemical called Gen X, which DuPont told both regulators and the public was far safer than C8. Nothing to worry about here with Gen X. Well, the news surrounding DuPont's Gen X chemical is unfolding the exact way that their C8 cancer story unfolded. Not only are we learning that this new Gen X chemical is causing cancer and reproductive problems, but the company was fully aware of these dangers and didn't let the public know about it. DuPont's filed 16 reports of substantial risk of injury to or health to the environment over Gen X. These reports, though, were filed with the EPA during 2006 and 2013 under Section 8E of the Toxic Substances Control Act. That specific section of the law says that if a company is involved in the manufacture of a chemical and they have information that reasonably supports the conclusion that the substance presents a substantial risk of injury to health or the environment, then they have to inform the EPA. So just 7 years, the company had to file 16 reports on the toxicity of the chemical that they told both regulators and the public was much safer, nothing to worry about, no problems here. Gen X has been associated with the dangerous health effects in test rats, including cancer, changes to the immune system, and problems related to reproduction. In January 2013, DuPont said in a report that rats exposed to varying amounts of Gen X over a 2-year period formed cancerous tumors in the liver, in the pancreas, and the testicles. Rats also developed benign tumors, a kidney disease, and liver failure. Even worse is that the DuPont scientists who signed off on those reports said, well, they probably weren't relevant to human health assessments. Really? Which the company's taken as the green light to dump these chemicals into Cape Fear River in North Carolina. And again, just like C8 being dumped into the Ohio River Valley, well, we're beginning to see this Gen X chemical popping up in people who live along Cape Fear River, and as many as 300,000 people could have been exposed to this product, dangerous levels of this product. It's a tragic story that once again shows how criminal corporations never change until somebody has to pay the price, maybe to be prosecuted. Joining me now to talk about the new revelations about DuPont's Gen X is attorney Chris Polis. Chris, before we get into Gen X, give us a quick rundown on C8 and how that directly relates to this story that we're hearing about Gen X.
Well, what's interesting, Pap, is that through the process of litigation over the C8 chemical in the Mid-Ohio Valley, we got a good glimpse at what DuPont's playbook was in terms of how they respond to these types of crises and contaminating water districts or water supplies. And it appears that DuPont is playing the exact same playbook here with Gen X. They're initially going to decline to provide any information or any transparency into their file cabinets, into the toxicological data that they have regarding humans or animals. Then they're going to say that there is no relevance to humans, and they're going to downplay the amount of chemical that's in the water that people are exposed to say there's no health effects in humans. And we're seeing that play out as we speak in the Wilmington area, Fayetteville area in North Carolina.
Yeah. Chris, it's incredible to me. They test these rats, they test the laboratory animals, they're dying from cancer, they're dying from liver problems, they're dying from immune problems, but then the company says, oh, gee, that doesn't mean anything. Well, why are they testing the animals if it doesn't mean anything? It's like we saw with C8. They tested the animals for 50 years, animals dying by the tons. And they were telling the public, well, it doesn't mean anything that the monkeys died. We know how ridiculous that is, but we see them saying the same thing with Gen-X. Tell us what we're beginning to see with this new chemical, Gen-X. What do we know?
Well, according to the documents that have been provided to the EPA, we're seeing the same types of cancers in rats as we saw with C8. We're seeing the same types of reproductive and immune system effects, as well as other toxic effects to the eyes and to the lungs, to the skin of animals that are exposed to this chemical, Gen.